Chosen one, the sign before your breakthrough may not look like a breakthrough at all. You have been waiting. You have been praying. You have been holding on with everything you have, looking for something clear, something undeniable, something so loud that you would never be able to miss it. You have been watching the sky, checking your phone, waiting for the call, waiting for the door to open, watching for something so obvious that you would know with certainty, this is it. This is the moment. This is the answer. But what if the first sign was never going to arrive that way? What if heaven does not always send the announcement before the miracle? What if the first movement is not a dramatic shift in your circumstances, not a sudden flood of provision, not a public declaration of your vindication, but something quiet, something small, something so easy to dismiss that most people walk right past it without a second thought? I need you to stay with me, because by the time this message is finished, you may realize something that changes the way you see your entire season. You may realize that the sign you have been waiting for has already appeared. You may realize that what you called ordinary was anything but ordinary. You may realize that what you called coincidence was communication. You did not find this message by accident. Your spirit has already been sensing something. There is a stirring inside you that no amount of distraction can silence. A knowing that something is close. A feeling that is hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. And I want you to understand this before we go any further. What you are feeling is not anxiety. It is not confusion. It is not wishful thinking. It is discernment. It is the signal of a spirit that has been trained by everything it has been through to recognize what is coming before it fully arrives. The sign before your breakthrough may look smaller than you expect, but do not be deceived by its size, because heaven rarely wraps its biggest movements in the most impressive packaging. Stay close, because this is where most chosen ones miss the very moment they have been believing for. Before we go deeper, if this message is already landing in your spirit, take 10 seconds right now and subscribe to this channel. Leave a like on this video. Every message here is written for people exactly like you, people who are spiritually sensitive, who are in the middle of a season that does not make sense yet, who need more than motivation. They need confirmation. If that is you, subscribe and stay close. Now let's keep going. But before I continue, because what you are about to hear is going to touch something you have been carrying for a long time without a name for it. You survived the waiting. You survived the silence. You survived the closed doors, the delayed answers, the seasons that felt like they were pressing everything out of you. But surviving is not the same as stepping fully into what you were called for. And you feel that in the quiet moments, in the space between who you are right now and who you know you were made to become. You have been sensing the small signs. You have been feeling the stirring. But you do not yet have the structure to know how to respond, how to discern what is truly divine, how to move with wisdom instead of panic, how to position yourself so that when the breakthrough arrives, you are not just present for it, but ready to carry it and sustain it. That is exactly what the material called the total transformation of the chosen one was built to give you. 5 modules, a 30-day plan, 50 declarations written for seasons exactly like this one, 2 exclusive bonuses, all in PDF format, delivered to your email in less than 5 minutes. This is not more information. This is the system that takes everything you have survived, the delays, the silence, the rejection, the confusion, and transforms it into the foundation of your mission. The fire you walked through did not destroy you. This material will show you how to use it. The chosen one who has been through the fire and is still standing does not need more motivation. They need a structure that matches the depth of what they have endured. That structure is in the pinned comment below this video. A limited number of units have been made available, and this may come down at any moment. Get yours before it closes. Now I want to speak to something real. I know you have been waiting longer than you expected. I know the timeline in your spirit did not match the calendar on your wall. I know there were moments, maybe more than you want to admit, when you wondered if the delay meant denial, if the silence meant you were forgotten, if the doors that closed meant you had somehow missed your season. I want you to hear this clearly. You were not forgotten. You were not bypassed. You were not overlooked. You were being trained. Because the kind of breakthrough that is coming for you, the kind that will carry the weight of everything you have been through, requires a person who can recognize it when it arrives. And not every person can do that. Most people need the miracle to be obvious. Most people need the confirmation to be loud. Most people need the answer to come in a form they already recognize. But you have been in training for a different kind of recognition. Think about what this season has done to you. It has pressed you. It has quieted you. It has stripped away everything that was not essential. It has removed voices that were not sent for this chapter. It has brought you to a place of stillness that felt like emptiness, but was actually alignment. You have been through financial pressure that taught you what truly matters. You have been through delays that taught you how to hold on when the feeling is gone. You have been through closed doors that taught you that not every available path was meant for you. You have been through loneliness that taught you the difference between being alone and being prepared in solitude. And perhaps the hardest part of all, you have felt spiritually sensitive, spiritually awake, spiritually aware of something moving around you but still uncertain, still questioning, still wondering if what you are sensing is God or simply your own hope. You were not ignored during all of that. You were being trained to recognize the whisper, because anyone can hear thunder. But the chosen one is being prepared to hear the still small voice and to move because of it, even when no one else around them understands why. The delay was not always rejection. The silence was not abandonment. The hidden season was not punishment. It was preparation for a person who will not stumble into their breakthrough by accident, but will walk into it with eyes wide open, having learned how to recognize the first sign before the rest of the world even knows something has shifted. Here is what I need you to understand, and I need you to hold this carefully, because this is where most people miss it. The first sign before a major breakthrough is almost never dramatic. It is almost never the announcement you imagined. It is almost never the thunderclap, the sudden windfall, the undeniable public moment, the phone call with the offer, the instant healing, the overnight recognition. Those things may come, but they are rarely first. The first sign is usually quiet. It may come as a strange peace, a peace that arrives without explanation, after a long stretch of anxiety that you had grown used to carrying. And because you have been anxious for so long, you might almost distrust the peace. You might wonder what is wrong. But the peace is the sign. It may come as a conversation, a single sentence from someone who could not have known what you were going through, a word that lands so precisely on the exact thing you have been holding in secret that you can barely breathe for a moment. That is not coincidence. That is communication. It may come as a closed door, a rejection that at first feels like another setback, but underneath the sting of it, there is an unexpected quietness, a release, a knowing that this was not your door, that something better is being protected for you. That closed door may be the sign. It may come as a small opportunity, something that looks beneath what you have been believing for, something that, on the surface, does not match the scale of the vision you carry. But there is something in your spirit that is drawn to it anyway, something that says, this is the next step. And the next step does not always look like the final destination. It may come as a sudden desire, a desire to forgive something you have been carrying for years, a desire to clean, to organize, to make room, to let go, a desire to call someone you have been avoiding, a desire to apply for something you almost talked yourself out of, a desire to begin again, even when everything around you says it is too late. These desires are not random. They are instructions wrapped in impulse. It may come as a dream that you almost dismissed when you woke up, a number you keep seeing in the most ordinary places, a scripture that has appeared 3 separate times this week in 3 completely unrelated contexts, a phrase that keeps returning to your mind no matter how many times you try to move past it. The sign may not impress anyone else. It may not make logical sense in the moment. It may not look like the breakthrough from the outside, but your spirit will know. There will be something in you that recognizes it, not with your logic, not with your emotions, but with that deep interior knowing that has been developed through everything you have been through. And the key message I want to anchor in your spirit right now is this: The small sign is not small because the breakthrough is small. It is small because God is teaching you to move before everything is obvious. Do not miss this, because this changes everything about how you approach what is happening in your life right now. In a moment, I will show you exactly why the smallest instruction may be the doorway to everything you have been asking for. But first, I need you to understand why this pattern exists, why the beginning of the breakthrough is so often hidden inside something that looks completely ordinary. It is not accidental. It is intentional. God hides major direction inside ordinary moments because the person who will carry a major breakthrough must first demonstrate that they can be trusted with what looks small. Not because God is testing them for sport, but because the capacity to receive something significant is built in the handling of what looks insignificant. Think about what pressure has done to you. Real pressure, the kind that lasted longer than you thought you could bear. It did not just make you stronger, it made you more sensitive. It stripped away the layers of noise and distraction and left you with a clarity that you could not have developed any other way. Think about what waiting has done to you. Not the easy wait, but the long wait. The wait that made you question everything. The wait that brought you to your knees. The wait that taught you the difference between faith and wishful thinking. That waiting did not just build patience, it built discernment. Think about what rejection has done to you. Every closed door, every turned back, every no that arrived when you were expecting a yes. Each one of those moments, as painful as it was, did something to your spiritual perception. It taught you to stop chasing what was not appointed for you. It taught you that not every open space was meant to hold you. It taught you to recognize alignment rather than just opportunity. And the silence. The seasons when heaven seemed quiet, when prayer felt like it was bouncing off the ceiling, when you could not hear or feel anything moving. The silence was not abandonment. The silence was the training ground where you learned to trust what you could not feel. All of that made you sensitive in a way that cannot be manufactured. You can hear what others miss. You can sense what others ignore. You can receive direction through the still small voice when everyone around you is still waiting for the thunder. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual perception, and it is precisely what is needed to recognize the small sign. Because here is the truth that most people never reach. Anyone can move when the miracle is obvious. Anyone can step through a door when it is wide open and clearly marked. But chosen ones are trained to move when the instruction is still quiet, when the nudge comes before the explanation, when the peace arrives before the proof, when the knowing comes before the evidence. That is who you have become through this season. And that is exactly why the sign that is coming for you may not look like anything you expected. But listen carefully, because this is where many chosen ones miss the very moment they have been preparing for. There is a real danger in waiting only for what looks impressive. You asked for a door, but you may have walked past the key because it looked too small to matter. You asked for direction, but you rejected the instruction because it did not arrive in the form you had imagined. You asked for confirmation, but you dismissed the quiet peace because you were expecting something louder, something that everyone around you could see and agree with. God may not send the full breakthrough first. He may send the first instruction. And the first instruction may not look like a breakthrough at all. It may look like a prompt to call someone you have not spoken to in months. It may look like a small opportunity that seems almost beneath the vision you carry. It may look like a conversation that seems accidental. It may look like a gentle pull toward rest when everything in you has been pushing toward frantic action. It may look like a release of a relationship, a position, an old version of yourself that no longer belongs in the next chapter of your story. Do not despise small beginnings. This is not just encouragement, it is a warning. Because the breakthrough does not begin with the arrival of the big thing. It begins with your response to the small instruction. The moment you treat the small sign as insignificant, you slow your own entry into the next chapter. Not because God withdraws from you for missing it, but because the sequence matters. The small step leads to the next step. The small obedience prepares the ground for the larger movement. The small instruction, when honored, unlocks the door that the larger thing walks through. Do not reject the ordinary moment. Do not assume that something is not divine simply because it looks simple. Do not rush past this, because this may be the very confirmation you have been asking for, showing up in the form you almost overlooked. Let me speak now to the specific places where you have been waiting. Because the small sign before your breakthrough is not abstract. It is personal. It is connected to the real desires and real pain that you carry into every quiet moment. If you have been waiting for financial breakthrough, hear this. The sign may not begin with a large sum appearing. The sign may begin with a small idea that keeps returning to your mind, even when you try to dismiss it as too simple. The sign may begin with a budget decision, a moment of discipline that feels small in the natural, but carries weight in the spiritual. The sign may begin with a conversation you almost cancelled, with someone who holds a piece of the puzzle you did not know you were missing. The sign may begin with a door that requires you to walk through with humility before it opens into increase. The sign may begin with the courage to close a financial door that has been draining what you were meant to be building. Do not wait for the provision to arrive in full before you acknowledge that God is moving. Watch for the first instruction. Watch for the small shift. Watch for the moment your spirit says, "This is the beginning." Because increase rarely arrives without a first step that looks almost too modest to take seriously. If you have been waiting for healing, in your body, your mind, your emotions, or your spirit, hear this. The sign may not begin with an instant dramatic restoration. The sign may begin with peace. Say peace in your body, in your thoughts, in your spirit, that you have not been able to access for a long time. It may begin with wisdom, a quiet knowing about what your body and spirit have been trying to tell you that you have been too busy or too afraid to listen to. It may begin with rest, a genuine rest, not the exhausted collapse you have been falling into, but a rest that restores. It may begin with the courage to ask for help, to say, "I cannot carry this alone," to stop performing strength and allow yourself to receive what you need. Healing often begins with one honest surrender, one moment where you stop fighting the process and allow it to do what it was sent to do. Watch for that moment. That moment is the sign. If you have been waiting for love, for restoration in your relationships, for the loneliness to lift, hear this. The sign may not begin with the dramatic arrival of the person or the relationship you have been asking for. The sign may begin with release, the release of something that has been keeping you in a cycle of wounding, the release of a connection that felt like home but kept leaving you smaller every time you walked away from it, the release of the version of yourself that was shaped by what you have been through, so that the real version, the healed, whole, fully restored version, can be present for what is coming. The sign may be the return of your self-worth, the quiet morning when you wake up and something has shifted inside you. You no longer need what was hurting you. You no longer chase what was leaving you. You no longer mistake familiarity for destiny. That shift is the sign. That shift is the beginning of a love chapter that can only begin after the old chapter has been properly closed. If you have been waiting for peace in your family, for the tension to ease, for the estrangement to heal, for the burden to lift, hear this. The sign may begin with one softened heart. It may be yours. It may be theirs. But there will be a moment when something that was hard begins to yield, when something that was closed begins to open slightly, when one honest conversation becomes possible after a long silence. Do not dismiss that moment as small. That moment is the sign. That conversation may be the first stone in the bridge that eventually restores what was broken. And you do not have to force the whole restoration in one moment. You only have to honor the first step when it appears. If you have been waiting for clarity about your purpose, wondering why the calling is clear but the path still feels hidden, wondering why you carry this sense of assignment but cannot yet see where to direct it, hear this. The sign may not be the full map. It may only be the next step. A single next step. It may come as a gift returning, something you used to do naturally, something you loved, something that brought life to other people that you had quietly set aside somewhere in the middle of survival. And suddenly, it is returning. The desire to create, the desire to speak, the desire to write, to build, to serve, to lead, to begin again. That returning desire is not nostalgia, it is direction. The sign may be a small assignment, something that looks beneath the scale of what you have been carrying inside you, but your spirit recognizes it as a step. Take the step. Because the next step and the step after that will become visible once you move toward the one that is already in front of you. The sign may not give you everything. It may only give you enough. But enough, in the hands of someone who has been through what you have been through, is more than sufficient to begin. And now I want to give you something practical, because faith without action becomes a waiting room you never have to leave. In the next 24 to 72 hours, I want you to pay attention in a specific way. Not frantic attention, not desperate scanning of every moment looking for confirmation, but a quiet, intentional awareness, a spiritual attentiveness. I'm not promising a guaranteed miracle in the next 72 hours. I'm not telling you that if you follow this process, something dramatic will happen on a specific day. What I am telling you is that there is something already moving in your spirit that deserves your attention, and that attention creates the conditions for recognition. Write down what keeps returning. Not everything that passes through your mind, but the things that return. The thought that came back 3 times this week even when you tried to set it aside. The name, the idea, the instruction, the desire, the dream that will not stay dismissed. Write it down. Take it seriously. Because what returns is often what is being sent. Ask yourself these questions honestly. What small thing have I been delaying because it does not feel significant enough? What instruction have I been treating as optional because it looked too simple? What conversation have I been avoiding because I am not sure I am ready for what might shift in it? What closed door in my life have I been grieving when perhaps I should be trusting? What have I been calling small that heaven may have been calling necessary? The breakthrough is not only something you receive, it is something you recognize, respond to, and step toward with wisdom and with faith. You are not a passive participant in what is coming for you. You are a prepared participant, and preparation looks like spiritual attentiveness. It looks like honoring the small instruction before the big one arrives. You are not behind. You are being positioned. If this message is speaking to your spirit right now, and I believe it is, because you are still here, because something in you could not click away, I want you to do something. Go to the comments section right now and write these words. I will not miss the small sign 99. This is not a superstition. This is not a formula. This is a declaration. It is a statement of readiness. It is you saying to heaven, I am paying attention. I am alert. I will not dismiss what you send because it does not match what I expected. I will not overlook the whisper because I was waiting for the thunder. Write it. Mean it. Let it be an act of faith and of awareness. And if this message has confirmed something you have already been sensing, if it has given language to something your spirit already knew but could not articulate, press the like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. There is more here for you. More messages like this one, written for exactly the season you are in. And one more thing, and before you move on, go to the first pinned comment below this video. The material there, the total transformation of the chosen one, was built for the person who is at this exact intersection. The person who has been through the fire. The person who can feel the shift coming, but needs the structure to move wisely into it. The person who has survived everything, but is ready now to do more than survive. The units available are limited. This may come down. If your spirit is saying, this is for me, do not wait. Get it now before the window closes. Now let me speak to you one more time before we reach the end of this message. I want to speak to the person who has watched others step into what looked like their breakthrough while you were still in the waiting room. I want to speak to the person who has done everything right, who has prayed, who has believed, who has held on through things that would have broken someone with less faith, and who still does not fully understand why the timeline has looked the way it has. I want to speak to the person who is tired, not tired of God, not tired of faith, but tired in the way that only a long season of holding on can make you. The kind of tired that does not go away with sleep, the kind of tired that lives somewhere behind your eyes. Hear this, the delay sharpened your eyes. Every month you spent waiting taught your spiritual perception something that speed could never have given you. The person who receives it quickly does not always know how to hold it. The person who waited, who was pressed, who was tested, who learned to trust in the dark, that person carries something different into the breakthrough. A depth, a stability, a wisdom that cannot be manufactured. The silence trained your ears. The seasons when you could not hear anything, when prayer felt like it was going nowhere, when the sky seemed closed, those seasons taught you to listen in a completely different register. You learned to hear what others miss. You learned to sense movement before it is visible. You learned the difference between the voice that brings peace and the voice that creates confusion. The rejection protected your assignment. Every door that closed, every person who walked away, every opportunity that did not materialize, it was not all loss. Some of it was protection. Some of it was preparation. Some of it was heaven keeping you from rooms that would have held you back, from connections that would have cost you your direction, from paths that looked like shortcuts but would have led you away from what was actually prepared for you. The small sign is proof that heaven is still communicating. What looked like nothing was not nothing. What looked like an uneventful week was a week where something was moving beneath the surface. What looked like another ordinary day may have been the day that the first stone of your next chapter was quietly laid. Your story is not wasted, not one part of it, not the tears, not the years, not the silence, not the confusion, not the longing. Every part of what you have been through is being woven into something that, when you look back on it from the other side, you will recognize as purposeful, as necessary, as the making of something that could not have been built any other way. You were not forgotten. You were being formed. And before you dismiss what happened this week, before you write off the quiet moment, the unusual thought, the peaceful feeling, the small desire, the gentle nudge, I want you to pay attention to some specific signs, because not every random thing is a sign. But the true sign will announce itself in a way your spirit recognizes. Watch for peace where there used to be panic. If a situation that has been causing you anxiety suddenly carries a quietness, not denial, not numbness, but a genuine peace, do not dismiss that. Peace is directional. It points. It confirms. It settles what confusion has been stirring. Watch for sudden courage. If you find yourself willing to do something that you have been afraid of for a long time, make the call, take the step, have the conversation, submit the application, begin the thing. And the fear does not disappear, but the courage is stronger than the fear. That is a sign. The courage arriving is the instruction moving. Watch for a door closing without destroying you. If something ends, a relationship, a chapter, a role, a season, and the loss is real, but underneath the loss, there is an unexpected steadiness, a quiet release rather than devastation. Pay attention. That steadiness is not indifference. It is the sign that this door was meant to close so that something else could open. Watch for one sentence from someone that hits your spirit. Not a long conversation, not an elaborate sign, just one sentence. From someone who had no way of knowing exactly what you needed to hear. When a single sentence lands with that kind of precision, it is not coincidence, it is communication. Hold on to that sentence. It may be carrying more direction than it appears to on the surface. Watch for the repeated phrase, the repeated scripture, the repeated thought that will not leave you alone. When something keeps returning, when you hear it in a message, see it in a post, read it in a passage, and then someone says it to you in a conversation, that repetition is not coincidence. Heaven repeats what it needs you to receive. Watch for the desire to let go of bitterness. If you find yourself genuinely willing, not forced, not performing, but genuinely willing to release something that you have been carrying in anger or resentment or grief, that willingness is a spiritual shift. And spiritual shifts precede circumstantial shifts. The letting go is not just emotional release. It is making room. Watch for the need to rest before the next chapter. If your spirit is pulling you toward genuine stillness, not avoidance, not escapism, but a holy pause before the next movement, honor it. Rest is not wasted time in the economy of the chosen one. Rest before the next chapter is preparation. It is the breath before the word is spoken. Watch for the feeling that old environments no longer fit. If you find yourself in familiar places, familiar conversations, familiar patterns, and something in you no longer settles there the way it used to. That discomfort is not ingratitude. It is growth. It is your spirit signaling that you have outgrown a container that once held you, and outgrowing a container means a larger one is coming. Watch for the desire to clean, to prepare, to organize, to make room. This is one of the most overlooked signs of an approaching breakthrough. When the spirit begins to prepare, it often begins in the natural environment. The desire to clear space, to release what is no longer needed, to organize what has been scattered, this is not just a practical impulse. It is spiritual alignment expressing itself in the natural. And watch for the quiet confidence that arrives without explanation. You did not manufacture it. You did not talk yourself into it. It simply arrived one morning, a settled knowing that something is working, something is moving, something is coming, without any external evidence to justify it. That confidence is not denial. It is not wishful thinking. It is the witness of a spirit that has received something your circumstances have not yet caught up to. Not every random thing is a sign. The true sign will always pull you toward peace, toward wisdom, toward obedience, toward healing, toward humility, toward clarity, and toward alignment. The true sign will never pull you into fear, into chaos, into pride, into desperation, into obsession, or into confusion. When what you are sensing leads to those things, to panic, to frantic movement, to pride, it is not the sign. But when what you are sensing leads you to peace, to quiet courage, to surrender, to alignment, honor it. Now I want you to feel the weight of where you are standing right now. You are not at the beginning of a long road. You're at the edge of a new chapter. Everything you have been through, everything, has been preparation for this movement. The pressure was not punishment, it was formation. The silence was not rejection, it was instruction. The delays were not denial. They were precision. And the sign that stands at the entrance of this next chapter may be small. It may be quiet. It may not impress anyone around you. It may not even fully make sense to you yet. But it is real, and your spirit knows it is real. Because your spirit has been trained through everything you have endured to recognize exactly this kind of sign. The sign may be small, but the shift behind it is not. The whisper may be quiet, but the door behind it is massive. The instruction may be simple, but the obedience attached to it is generational. The moment may look completely ordinary, but heaven may be using it to redirect your entire path. Your next move is not to chase noise. Your next move is to recognize peace. Your next move is to honor the small sign. Your next move is to obey the instruction that looks simple. Your next move is to stop waiting for everything to be obvious before you take the first step, because chosen ones do not wait for the full picture. They move when the first sign appears. They act on the first instruction. They honor the small beginning. And because they do, they are positioned to receive what those who waited for thunder will spend years still waiting for. So let me close with this declaration. Speak it over yourself. Let it settle into your spirit before you close this video. I will not despise small beginnings. I will not ignore quiet confirmation. I will not chase noise and miss peace. I will not reject the key because it looks small. I will not wait for thunder when heaven is speaking in a whisper. I will not overlook the ordinary moment because I was expecting the dramatic one. I will not miss the first instruction while waiting for the full announcement. I will recognize the small sign. I will move with wisdom. I will honor what my spirit is sensing. I will step into what is coming, not panicked, not desperate, not confused, but prepared, because everything I have been through made me ready for exactly this moment. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not overlooked. I am positioned. I am prepared. I am ready. Chosen one, the sign may look smaller than you expected, but do not be deceived by its size. Heaven often wraps the beginning of a miracle in something ordinary. The quiet peace, the small nudge, the repeated thought, the gentle instruction, the closed door that redirected you, the desire to begin again. These are not random. These are not coincidences. These are the fingerprints of a God who has never stopped moving on your behalf, even in the seasons when you could not feel it. Pay attention, be still, be alert, be ready. The small sign is already speaking. If this message confirmed what your spirit has been sensing, write in the comments, "I will not miss the small sign 99. Like this video. Subscribe if you have not already. There is more here for the season you are in. And before you go, check the first pinned comment below. The material there was made for exactly where you are right now. Limited units, do not miss it. Now look at the video appearing on your screen. That message was placed there for you next. Click it. Your spirit is ready for what it carries.